Say hello to the short-haired queens who totally slayed the 90s R&B scene. With their K-er blend of R&B, jazz, and hip-hop, they dropped some seriously unforgettable jams. Their debut track, Hey Mr. DJ, was a straight-up jam, landing at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and making everyone hit the dance floor.
Hey DJ, keep playing that song all night.
Even with their epic debut, Zhané only released 2 albums before disappearing from the music scene. So, what's the tea on these 90s icons? Even after 25 years, their tracks still get the party poppin'. Let's take a trip down memory lane and catch up on what's been happening with Zhané since they left the spotlight. Renee Neufville and Jean Norris first crossed paths at Temple University in the early 90s, both as students and roommates. Jean, who grew up belting it out in her dad's church choir in Jersey, and Brooklyn's own Renee, the youngest of 3 with Jamaican roots, quickly realized they were a musical match made in heaven. They started hitting up talent shows and events to make some extra cash and showcase their killer vibes.
From the West Indies, Renee, please tell us where you're from, your family comes from, where you represent.
Jamaica.
Then DJ Jazzy Jeff, who was riding high with Will Smith's Home Base album, caught wind of these two and just had to meet them. He signed them to his crew, A Touch of Jazz. They even got to be a part of Will Smith's track Ring My Bell. But, plot twist, they were nowhere to be seen in the music video. Despite their collaborations, it wasn't until former Warner Brothers exec Benny Medina suggested they team up permanently that they took the plunge. Renee had the bright idea to jazz up their names by using the French pronunciation of Jean and Renee, turning it into Zhané. They added a Z for extra flair, and just like that, Zane was born. When it came to their look, Renee totally took the lead, with Renee towering at 5 feet 9 inches and Jean at 5 feet 2 inches, plus their contrasting skin tones, one dark and one light. They really stood out. To keep things cohesive, Renee rocked finger waves while Jean went for a buzz cut. Before their debut album even dropped, they got a lucky break. After meeting Naughty by Nature's KG, he was so impressed with their vibe that he pushed them to get into the studio ASAP. They ended up on the roll with the Flava compilation, exec-produced by Queen Latifah. Even though they were on a jam-packed album with major artists, their track, Hey Mr. DJ, blew up, thanks to Renee's bedroom floor inspiration, a killer Michael Wyckoff sample, and a fire rap from Fam.
Hey DJ, keep playing that song all night.
The song's success had them racing to finish their album, shoot the video, and snag a record deal. They signed with Motown Records in 1994, and their debut album, Zhané, dropped with hits like Groove Thang and Sending My Love. They went gold, and even hit platinum a couple of years later. Renee's songwriting was a total game changer for Zhané's debut album. She wrote every single track, drawing from her 70s and 80s influences like Patrice Rushen and Atlantic Starr. To keep the momentum going, Zhané jumped onto features for other artists, including De La Soul and Busta Rhymes, and even made a standout appearance in the Notorious B.I.G.'s One More Chance video. Their music also popped up on compilations and soundtracks, like the track Shame from the 1994 comedy A Low Down Dirty Shame, which became another top 40 hit. But when they dropped their follow-up album Saturday Night in 1997, they decided to switch things up and go for a more soulful and jazzy vibe. They were hoping to show off their growth beyond just party anthems. Despite the new direction and hits like Request Line and Crush, the album didn't hit the same heights as their debut. By 1999, Zhané disbanded, with John choosing to go solo for more creative freedom. Even though Saturday Night didn't quite hit the jackpot, they went out with a bang, featuring on Naughty by Nature's Top 10 hit Jamboree.
DJ, please pick up your phone. I'm on the request line.
Music's been a major part of both Jean and Renee's lives even after Zhané's split. Jean Norris, now Jean Baylor, married jazz musician Marcus Baylor in 2000. Marcus is the drummer for the jazz fusion band Yellow Jackets. After chilling for a while, Jean released a soulful R&B album and a contemporary Christmas album between 2007 and 2011. Fast forward to 2017, and she and Marcus formed an R&B jazz duo called the Baylor Project. Their debut album earned them 2 Grammy nominations, Best Jazz Vocal Album and Best Traditional R&B Performance. As for Renee, she hosted a live web series called 88 Soul, featuring big names like Jill Scott and Joe, and worked with artists like India Arie and Aaliyah. She also dove into jazz with Roy Hargrove's RH Factor, which influenced her 2015 solo album, Watching Me. Her latest drop, Something to Believe, is a heartfelt tribute to Hargrove, who passed away in 2018. Zhané's story isn't unique in the R&B world. Tons of talented groups with dope hits just couldn't keep the momentum going. Think about groups like 112, After 7, and All For One. They had the talent, they had the tracks, but they still flew under the radar after an initial splash. Whether it's label issues, the changing music landscape, or simply being overshadowed by bigger names, so many groups never get the full recognition they deserve. It's like they get that one shot, and when it fades, they quietly exit the scene, even with die-hard fans still riding for them. R&B's got a history of these almost moments, where promising acts leave us wondering what could have been if they'd gotten just a bit more shine. It all kicked off in high school when Darren Jones, Michael Keith, and Reginald Finley started vibing together as a group called Fort. But they knew they were missing something. That missing piece showed up when they met Alden Lagon, whose deep bass voice sealed the deal. They also linked up with Marvin Slim Skandrick, who brought in those smooth high notes. He was already killing it in the school chorus. Fort's raw talent caught the attention of hit-making duo Tim and Bob, who took the group from living room sessions to real studio time. Things really heated up after they auditioned at Atlanta's Club 112, where Puff Daddy himself, yep, Diddy, saw their potential and signed them to Bad Boy Records. Rebranded as 112, they were suddenly in NYC, laying down tracks for their debut album. When 112 dropped their self-titled album in 1996, it was a whole vibe, mixing smooth R&B with hip-hop swagger. Then they really took off when they teamed up with Faith Evans on Puff Daddy's iconic I'll Be Missing You, which snagged a Grammy and hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 straight out the gate. The crew kept the momentum going with albums like Room 112 and Part 3, both packed with bangers. They delivered hits like Cupid, Anywhere, and Peaches and Cream, all while collaborating with heavyweights like Biggie, Mace, and of course Puff. Even with some bumps along the way, 112's signature sound still hits right in the feels for any R&B lover.
I'll give you the sun, the rain, the moon.
After 7 came together back in 1987, when brothers Melvin and Kevon Edmonds teamed up with their college buddy Keith Mitchell. Fun fact, Melvin and Kevon are the older bros of none other than Kenneth Babyface Edmonds, the R&B legend himself. The crew first linked up when Kevon met Keith at Indiana University Bloomington in the late 70s, where they were both flexing their talents in the Indiana University Soul Review. What started as a hobby turned into something way bigger once they got Melvin on board. Their big break came in 1989 with their self-titled debut album, packed with tracks mostly written and produced by Babyface and L.A. Reid. That album went platinum and gave us hits like Heat of the Moment, Ready or Not, and Can't Stop. The last two didn't just top the R&B charts, they also cracked the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. In 1992, they dropped Takin' My Time, which also went platinum and featured the smooth jam Baby, I'm For Real, Natural High. Their 1995 album Reflections went gold and gave us the R&B classic Till You Do Me Right. After calling it quits in 1997, the group made a comeback years later, with Melvin's son, Jason, stepping in for his dad. Melvin rejoined the squad in 2016 for their comeback album Timeless, and the hits kept coming with tracks like Runnin' Out, I Want You, and Let Me Know. Sadly, Melvin passed away in 2019, but his legacy lives on. After Seven's smooth vocals and timeless tunes still hit hard, showing us that their music really can't stop touching hearts.
And I swear by
The R&B quartet All For One first linked up in 1987. It all started when Alfred Nevarez and Tony Barowiak became buddies in high school out in Antelope Valley, California. They met Jamie Jones at a recording studio, and the trio decided they needed one more voice to round things out. Enter Delius Kennedy, who they discovered singing his heart out at a karaoke contest. Boom! All For One was born. Fast forward to 1993, and they dropped their self-titled debut album. But the real game changer was their second single, a cover of John Michael Montgomery's I Swear. That track was everywhere, holding down the #1 spot in the US for almost 3 months and topping charts worldwide. It was a multi-platinum hit that showed off their buttery smooth harmonies. But I Swear wasn't their only hit. They also gave us So Much in Love, a feel-good remake that had everyone swooning. I Can Love You Like That, a sweet ballad that became an instant fave. Their music was all about love, emotion, and killer vocals, often drawing comparisons to Boyz II Men. Even with the ups and downs of label drama, All For One's legacy still shines, reminding us that soulful harmonies never go out of style. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more juicy updates.